In problem 6, we have a joint stock company which is issuing 50,000 equity shares of rupees, 15,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each at par. Okay, this information is important because when we calculate the commission, we need to know what is the issue price. So 10 rupees is the issue price because they were issued at par. So 15 lakh is the total equity shares that they want to issue. Out of this, 30% of the issue was reserved for the promoters. Okay, so let's see here. Let's just highlight this. And balance was offered to the general public, the entire amount being asked for with the application. So what they're saying here is this company had a total issue of 15 lakh shares. That means the amount that they wanted to, the total number of shares they wanted to sell is 15 lakhs. But out of this, there was 30% of the shares reserved for promoters. Is this clear? 30% of the 15 lakh was reserved for promoters. Now what does this mean? We know that whenever shares are sold, you can either sell all the shares to the public, that is individuals, retail shareholders, or we call them retail investors, or you can sell them to your own promoters, your own, some other institution, some other sister concerns or parent company, a holding company, or the directors, the promoters of your business. So what is this company doing? 30% of the 15 lakh, which means 4,50,000 are being reserved for the promoters, and the remaining 10 lakh 50,000 shares are being offered to the public. So whatever is not taken up by the promoters, the remaining is offered to the public. So we say shares offered to public. Now always remember, when you're calculating the underwriting liability, the gross liability of each of the underwriters, in this case, you will be calculating the gross liability on this amount. The underwriters are not liable, or it is not their worry as to provide a backup or an insurance for what shares are given to the promoters. The shares which are reserved for the promoters will not be the underwriter's liability. The underwriters are interested only in those shares which are offered to the public, and they will take the responsibility for only those shares. Is this clear? So shares offered to the public 10,50,000. Now let's calculate what will be the gross liability. So there are three underwriters. P, Q and R have agreed to take up these shares in the ratio of 3:1:1. Is that clear? So that means gross liability is 3:1:1. Now what do you need to divide in the gross liability ratio? The shares which are offered to the public. Okay. Firm underwriting we will come to later. Let's see gross liability ratio. So this ratio, this amount goes in 3:1:1, which basically means, what will be the amounts? 3/5, 3 plus 1 plus 1, 5, right? 1/5 and again 1/5 of 10,50,000. So how much do you get? Let's show you the calculation over here. $10,50,000 multiplied by 3 divided by 5. You get 6,30,000 in the first case. Okay. And the second case, it is basically 1/5 and 1/5 for both. So in other words, 10 lakh 50,000 divided by 5, right? So 2 lakh 10,000 for each. Two lakh 10,000. Done? Yes, so this is the gross liability. This is what they agree to take. Okay. Now, there is also firm underwriting of 30, 20 and 10,000 shares. We will come to that later. And commission to be paid is fixed at 2%. So in this problem, percentage or rate of commission given to you. Now marked applications were these many for P, Q and R. So let's directly minus them. The moment we have marked applications, nothing needs to be done to them, just directly minus. So for P, marked applications are 5,50,000 over here. For Q, it is 2 lakhs. And for R it is 1,50,000. Okay, as is the way they are given, just deduct them from the gross liability. How much do you get? Balance 80,000, 10,000, 60,000. So far there is no surplus, only liability for all three. Now, time to calculate unmarked applications. Now, first, before calculating unmarked applications, we need to know how many total applications were received. Okay, so they are saying, let's see, unmarked applications excluding for shares underwritten firm totaled 50,000 shares. Now, the interesting thing in this problem is you are directly given how much are unmarked applications received from public. What are they saying? Unmarked applications excluding for the shares underwritten firm, meaning firm underwritten shares, okay, or firm underwriting. Unmarked applications received from public were 50,000 shares. Okay, so next working note. This is your first working note for gross liability. Second working note for unmarked applications. Okay, so unmarked applications from public. In other words, they do not include or they are excluding under firm underwriting shares. Is this clear? So the problem tells us we don't have to calculate unmarked how we normally do over here. Let's see. This is how we used to calculate unmarked. Total applications received minus marked, you would get unmarked applications. But in this case, it's already given to you 50,000 is the number, right? 50,000 unmarked applications. Now, look at the problem and see whether benefit of firm underwriting is given or not given. That is very important because we need to decide what to do with the firm underwriting shares. So, benefit of firm underwriting was not given to the underwriters. And when it is not given to underwriters, we have to add firm underwriting to the unmarked applications. So to this, add firm underwriting, all three. How much are they? Firm underwriting applications were 30, 20, 10. This was the total, right? So firm underwriting applications for each one were 30, 20 plus 10. Why are we adding these firm underwriting? Because benefit of firm underwriting is not given to individual underwriters. So we need to just add them up along with unmarked. We are treating them as if they are unmarked. So 50 plus 10, 60. Okay. Total unmarked applications 1 lakh 10,000 shares. Total unmarked applications. Have you followed? Alright, so as usual we have the total unmarked applications that are provided to us. So unmarked applications, what we have calculated, that is 1,10,000, sorry, this now needs to be distributed in the gross liability ratio. We need to minus them, we need to put them here, right? We need each one's share in the unmarked applications, that is P, Q and R, and this will go in the gross liability ratio of 3:1:1. Okay, so let's distribute that. P, Q, R. I told you the ratios before, 3 by 5, 1 by 5 and 1 by 5, of which amount now? The new unmarked applications, final calculation, 1,10,000. Okay, so if we calculate that, let's see how much do we get. 3 divided by 5, 66,000 first person's share of unmarked. Next one, 1,10,000 again, divide by 5. It is multiplied by 1 by 5. Okay, directly divide by 5 I'll do. And you get 22,000. Last is also 1 by 5, so 22,000. Right? Balance. Now resultant liability or surplus. Let's see who gets what. 80 minus 66,000, 14,000. 10 minus 22. Unmarked applications are greater. There will be a negative, right? So negative 12,000 and 60 minus 22, 38,000. This is clear. Okay. Now one person has a surplus. Negative means Q has extra shares that they have sold. So it is 12,000, a surplus. We need to allocate that surplus. So allocation of Q surplus among P and R in gross liability ratio. How much? P, Q, R, 3 people. 3:1:1. The one in the middle who has ratio of 1, right? See, it's 3:1:1. Okay, which means Q now already has a surplus, right? So this will go and only the 3:1 remains of P and R. Fine. So this will be in 3:1 ratio. Alright, is that clear? So 12,000 in 3:1 ratio. How will you calculate? 12,000, P gets how much? Multiplied by, his ratio is 3, divide by 4, right? 3 plus 1, 4, and he will get 9,000. Out of that 12, he will get 9,000. This gets nullified, 12,000 will go, and the remaining, out of 12, 9,000 P got, so the remaining 3,000 R is going to get. Is this clear? This is going to get nullified, it will no longer remain. And what will be the net liability? Now what will be the balances? 14 minus 9, 5,000. This one has nil, and this will be 35,000. Is that clear to you so far? So net liability will be based on, or will be calculated only after allocating the liability, allocating the excess or the surplus of any one underwriter among the others. Okay. Now we also need to add the firm underwriting to get a total liability. Firm underwriting is 30 plus 20 plus 10. Let's just add that up. And see how much we get, whether this becomes the unsubscribed portion or not. And 45,000. Okay, so 35 plus 20 plus 45 is what the underwriters are taking. Let's just see how much it totals up to, just for cross verification, nothing else. Plus 45,000, you get 1 lakh. Okay, so let's see now how many shares were sold to the public and how many of these or how many applications were received. Now in this question, applications received is not given to you, how many applications were received, but what you are given is unmarked applications plus the marked applications, right? So reverse calculation. Normally what do we do? See, in the previous cases, we used to take total applications. From that, see here, total applications minus marked, and then we used to get unmarked. This time we are given unmarked applications first and unmarked applications are given to us, right? And we have to find this, right? So we add these two, unmarked and marked, and we get the total applications received. Is this clear? So let's see. Just for cross verification, we will do this. Marked applications equal, how many were marked applications? Given in the problem, 5,50,000, let's calculate. Total marked applications, let's just total this up, 5,50,000 plus 2 lakh plus 1,50,000. Okay, I've taken these, right? All of these total gives me 9 lakh. Alright, so total marked applications were 9 lakh. And then they said unmarked applications were 50,000, they're directly given in the problem. So that means total applications received from the public. We're not bothered about promoters, okay, or firm underwriters, but from public we got total of 9,50,000 share applications, isn't it? Yes. How many had we issued to the public in the first place? We had issued 10,50,000, correct? So 10,50,000 were issued, 9,50,000 applications were received, which means unsubscribed was how much? 1 lakh, isn't it? We sold or issued 10,50,000, right? The one highlighted in green that was offered to the public, and applications were received from the public for 9,50,000, which means unsubscribed portion was 1 lakh. Fine. And who takes this 1 lakh? It is the underwriters. And what is the number they are taking? 35, 20 and 45. Clear? That is how it totals up to 1 lakh. So this is always a better, this is a very good way of just cross verifying whether the total liability that you have got here is correct or not.